Hi guys. I miss you guys so much. That's a lie. I don't miss you because I see you every day right now. I'm making this in October. Right now I do not miss you, but I'm sure I will. We just have a tiny bit of notes left to do. I hope you guys are doing great. This is really just a summary of what you've been learning. So we've been talking about the cell dividing and why it divides. So summary of division. Remember the whole purpose of dividing is so that we can grow and heal. Yes, I skipped a couple. But as we divide this cell, we have to make sure that we keep the chromosome number the same in the end. We don't want to make more cells that are different in any way. We want, if we have a skin cell that if we get a cut in our skin and we want to make more, we don't want them to be different in any way. So these two daughter cells, they call them daughter cells, not because they're only in daughters or they're from daughters, just because I don't know why they use daughter instead of son, but just because they're from a parent cell. Again, like they're just terms they use for the cells that are produced. So these are called daughter cells, and they're going to be identical to the first one. It gets so confusing because they're trying to help you understand. They're trying to help you understand, but they're not just saying that these cells are from, a specific person. They're in your body. They're just from a parent cell, which just means the first one. This is going to have to maintain that diploid full number. So in humans, how many chromosomes do we have in all of our cells? 46. In the end, we have to have the same amount. So there's that hidden step right here. Well, I don't know about hidden, but there's that step in there where DNA has to duplicate to make 92. And it's even a little more confusing because you'll never see that number. They don't like to say that it makes 92 for reasons I don't want to get into. But technically, it has doubled, and you have 92 chromatids. You've doubled the amount of DNA, so that when you split it in half, you get 46. And if you remember, when does that happen? When does DNA get replicated? In interphase, before mitosis even happens, in S phase. So hopefully you guys kind of get that your genes, you've told me this before, like even in the lab that we did with the PKU disease, our genes are basically just our DNA. And they code for proteins which are traits, like blue eyes or brown eyes. It gets way more complicated than that, but they're all a type of protein, at least most of them. If we have a gene that is mutated, that's going to be a problem. Actually, sometimes it's a problem. Sometimes it's actually not a problem. And we'll talk about that in a different unit. Sometimes it's okay, but sometimes if a gene is mutated, then our cell division can go out of control, and you can have this happen and nothing's stopping it. In a normal body, we can make more cells, but there are signals that tell it to stop making more, because otherwise these are just going to get out of control and make more and more, and then you're just going to have a huge lump of cells. And what is that called? That would be a tumor. So that tumor can cause a lot of problems. It can block pathways in your body. It can break off, go to another part of your body, grow there. It's just going to keep growing and growing because it's out of control. So that is when cancer results. So let's talk about things that could cause a mutation in your DNA that could result in out of control cells that cause cancer. That is cancer. So this is where I like to ask you questions and see what you know causes cancer. And nowadays, good Lord, doesn't everything cause cancer? My goodness. But some of the major things, there are definitely some things that we can see. If we expose cells to these things, man, they pretty quickly sometimes just start mutating that DNA, and then the cell division can go out of control. So there are some things in life that definitely do increase the risk of cancer, even though they say everything does nowadays. But radiation is one. X-rays are a type of radiation. So if you've ever had an x-ray, even if you go to the dentist and they do x-rays for your teeth, they have to protect your body, because the more radiation you have, the worse. They don't want to expose you to lots of radiation. So as little radiation as possible when they give you x-rays. Another type of radiation is UV, not say, sun. So UV rays from the sun. That definitely is a huge one for our skin. The more sun damage we have, the more likely it is that we would get skin cancer.
Bristol Briar to the high school office, please. Bristol Briar.
Chemicals in general, they say, very, very broad term, but it's talking about lots of things like smoking, something called asbestos. So I'm very curious if some of you guys have heard of that or not, but it's something they used to put in homes a long time ago. Not that long, but to you guys it would be long. But they used to use asbestos a lot, and then they saw that it really increased the risk of cancer, so they don't use it anymore. And they've taken it, a lot of it out of homes, but you'll still see it every now and then. Even my house that I sold had some around some of the pipes, so some pipes still have like asbestos tape or something like that. But it's bad. And then dyes as well. Some dyes, they say, I include that. I mean, dyes is a very broad term, and some are damaging, some are not, but like some of the dyes in food and things like that, they've shown to cause cancer. So I hate writing this one just because all of these can cause gene mutations, but what this is referring to is specific gene mutations. There are some genes you have in your body that if they are mutated, you automatically have a huge risk of getting cancer. So all of these cause gene mutations, but they keep this one just because it means specific genes. There are some genes that you can mutate that aren't a big deal. There are some genes that are called oncogenes that are precancerous, and the second you mutate them, it just means out of control cell. And then the last one is kind of a weird one. Growth promoting molecules. So there are some molecules and chemicals that actually trigger our cells to grow and divide, and they're good. But if you have too many of them, then those growth promoting molecules are going to be bad because they just signal your cells to grow out of control. So out of all of these things, I think the test will ask you for 2 to 3. So as long as you can remember like 2 to 3 of these, not even like A, B, or C, if you can even just say smoking, if you remember that smoking increases your risk of cancer, X-rays, UV rays, things like that, sunlight, then you're good. One last final point. When you talk about something being inherited, what does that mean? That means pass it down to your children, right? Well, if you have mutations in your normal body cells, that cannot be inherited. So that should make sense to you. If I have a cancer in my arm and I have a tumor right here, I'm not going to pass that on to my child. The mutation would have to be in a reproductive cell, because those are the cells that make the baby. So if you're a male, your sperm is the thing that's going to be making the baby. If you're a woman, the egg is the thing that's going to be making the baby. So if the mutation isn't in one of those things, then the mutation is not going to be passed down. So mutations in your normal body cells, not inherited. If it's in your sperm and egg, then it can be. And this is why they usually don't like to say that cancer is an inherited disease. Cancer is not an inherited disease. You can't just pass it down. With that said, the more we learn about cancer, the more we learn that there are genes that can increase your risk of getting cancer, and they're just naturally a part of your DNA, and they're definitely in all of your cells, and they're definitely in your sperm and definitely in your egg. So there are certain genes that increase your risk of getting cancer, and they are found to be in certain families that get passed down over and over and over. Breast cancer is one of them, and there's a gene called BRCA1, and that gene can be passed down in a family over and over and over, and that gene increases your risk of getting breast cancer by a lot. So, I mean, they say a lot, but I forget the exact number. It could still only be, I'm honestly pretty sure it's 12%. So it's not like the second you have it, you're guaranteed to have cancer. But it might be in a family, it might get passed down over and over and over. And in that case, it kind of is inherited, but it's just not a guarantee. So hopefully in all that rambling, I'm making sense. But I hope you guys are having a good day. And I think this is the last time I talk to you through this thing. So I hope you guys have a really good Christmas.